Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the One Piece Madness. This is your host, Hussein, the One Piece uncle, joined by your co host, Hatim, the One Piece Dada. How are you, Dadaji?
Good.
That's all you have to say?
Yes. I forgot my
There's a lot.
cane.
There's a lot to talk about this chapter, so let's just jump right into it. Cover story: Germa Double Six Cold Blooded Voyage has come to an end. Do you have any predictions on what the next cover story will be?
No. N- Not at all. Maybe we
Uh,
could get Edward Weevil back. Because we haven't seen him in a long time. He just claimed to be Whitebeard's son, and we've heard nothing.
I
That's
was
one person
watching.
that would pop in my head.
There's another content creator I watch called Sai. He's like a One Piece spoiler guy, and he does the spoiler community very well. Um, he mentioned there are a few Easter eggs in this chapter, which makes him believe that the next cover story series will be Wano, and what's been happening after the Straw Hats left Wano, how Yamato is interacting with Momonosuke, and if there are any potential attacks, because that could weave nicely into um, Caribou leaving, and if Caribou is an informant, maybe one of the Yonko, which he is the informant of, will go to Wano for Pluton and start attacking. So we never know. It might be a nice segue into just progressing the chapter.
Hold on, I'm trying to do something a little different.
Damn, the
Can you
viewers are
see
lucky.
this?
Yeah,
Who said? Can you see this? Yeah, you can see the chapter now, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so at
But
least people get
if
to
I
see the
put the
chap.
chapter, then we get minimized.
Yeah, that's fine. They see our face all the time. Our one viewer.
1 second. What the hell happened? Ah, crap. Technical difficulties. Okay. I don't know what happened there. Let's just continue. I can't put the chapter up for some reason. We'll play with this the next week when we have more time.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a little seamless like Zoom, but I guess not.
Yeah, we got to work on the settings. But anyway, uh, yeah, let's just jump right into the chapter. Are there any notes from Oda? He got a new gas barbecue, which is very nice, very kawaii. Uh, he's cooking up something for the rest of the series, bro. I'm telling you, the way the lore is dropping. So my initial reaction after the whole chapter is that I had a feeling that Egghead was going to be a lot of what do you say, Frankie development, character development, but we're getting a lot of Robin, and ho- how she is going through. And this has been one of the best chapters of Robin since Ennius Lobby.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it is this: it's very cool, and other YouTubers have mentioned this too. That Oda's making a clear path to the next island will most likely be Elbaf, and giving that whole connection to the story. So it gave a nice connection that Ohara, like showing a little bit more significance to the disaster at Ohara, showing that like it actually made big impacts to people, like of course Dragon, which we'll get to, and definitely in terms of Robin, like some people I know mentioned like seeing that emotion from Robin. It's been a long time since they saw like so much emotion from her since Annie's lobby.
Yeah, that panel has to be one of my favorite panels in the manga so far. It's insane. Uh, yeah, the chapter starts off with Vegapunk just dropping lore like crazy, like a madman. We had the we assumed that the lore he dropped was actually what's happening. The fact that there was an ancient kingdom and the 20 kingdoms came to fight it and them eventually becoming the world government. So the community has always been on this, but the fact that the Straw Hats are now finding out is pretty significant. because that's just speeding up the story, right? Like everything's on the table now, all the cards are on the table, and the fact that the will of O'Hara lives on in Vegapunk is significant, and I really like how it ties O'Hara back. Uh, like you said, it's going to be a very important. It's become a very important part of the story. And another thing that I wanted your take on is the comeback of Jaguar D's Sol, because there's been a lot of controversy in this within the community, and I know that Morge is going to release a video on why he doesn't like it, but I want to know if you like it or not.
Yeah, so I did watch Morge's video, his chapter review, and he did mention that. I also watched Joy Boy too, and he also mentioned that he actually doesn't really mind it. And I'm just gonna give his opinion for like 2 seconds. Like, he basically just says that he doesn't care if the Saul is alive now, because the impact in the moment it had on Robin was what, you know, was a big part of the story. Like, it didn't change how Robin's reaction was, or her feelings, or her experience at the time. So I can think that that's a valid argument too. My main thing is, though, and we actually did jokingly talked about this maybe a week or two ago, where we're like, oh, maybe Saul's not even dead, and because you know he's, you know, off screen that's, but what I honestly, for me, what I think it is that it just shows that Aokiji is more of a good guy than we might even think, and that he, like Joe Boy mentioned, is that it doesn't make sense that he would keep Robin alive but not kill his actual friend, Jaguar de Sol. So I would assume that it does show that Aokiji is more of a good character than we're thinking, and it's not like he just did some bad things in the past or anything. He's very strategic on the way he chose to act, even as a vice admiral or admiral or anything.
The fact that Jaguar D Sol is alive is a testament to the consistency of Aokiji for sure, because there have been many times in the past where he didn't kill off anyone. When he first met Robin and Luffy, he just froze them and let them be, and the crew had to basically revive them. He didn't kill them, where he could have easily killed them, and that could have been the end of One Piece, which would have been pretty sad. But yeah, he let Robin go after O'Hara. There, there is a move. Uh, so people have brought this back in the manga. When he froze Sol, he used something called the ice time capsule,
Yeah.
which, if you look at the English, right, like it just means you're going to freeze someone in a time capsule, means preserving something until a later date. And because O'Hara was burning up, the ice must have melted, and then therefore he must have survived and maybe, you know, escaped the island and washed up somewhere else, and now he's at Elbaf, which is kind of a nice segue into, because the flames had defrosted him, the flames could have also burned him, which can potentially make him the man marked by flames, which makes Elbaf an even bigger setup, because we know Kid is looking for the man marked by flames. And another thing is the fact that, so another cool thing is that Oda, a while back, he mentioned what each of the One Piece characters' professions would have been if they were like in the real world, and he mentioned that Blackbeard would have been an archaeologist, like Robin, or he is an archaeologist, which makes a lot of sense, kind of, on why he knows so much, because he's probably been reading and researching and doing all that. So I have a feeling that he knows that there's something on Elbaf. So I feel like we're gonna get a Wano-esque arc in Elbaf where everyone's just gonna come and it's just gonna be one giant something, like Shanks, Blackbeard, Kid. Law will be captured by Blackbeard. That might be the kind of the arc where Luffy helps Kobe and Law escape. Like, it could be so. Elbaf now has the potential to be like an S tier arc if it's played right.
I definitely think that's actually, I didn't know about Blackbeard being an archaeologist, and I think that's actually pretty cool, because you're right, like, he knows so much, and but he's more like a dark version, and it's kind of like he knows things and he wants to take advantage of what he knows versus Robin, who wants to learn for the sake of learning. But I definitely think like leading that point to Elbaf and just showing the importance of Elbaf, that it will be a big arc, and I do think that it wouldn't be surprising to see one clash of Blackbeard and Luffy just to build up the final battle, because again, many shows do that. Like the main protagonist and they're one of their main antagonists will have one conflict, maybe two conflicts before their final showdown, which we technically saw even with Kaido too. Luffy fought him not once, twice, three times, four times, whatever, however many times. He lost the first times, a few times. Maybe Oda will do it where he fights Blackbeard and Elbaf, and they kind of have a stalemate, and then they go again at the end after Laugh
There's so much with Elbaf. It's going to be Usopp's arc. It's going to be where the fourth road poneglyph is, most probably. There's just so much to do with Elbaf, but one second, just fixing the stream. Much better. Okay. So, sorry guys, I was just fixing up the stream because it looked a bit choppy from my end. I hope it's good for you guys. Let's talk more about the fact that Dragon has been... So Vegapunk has been in cahoots with Dragon for a long time now, and we finally get the age reveal of both Vegapunk and Dragon. Dragon should be about 55, and I think Vegapunk is 65. And we also get Vegapunk's design. So there's so much within this flashback as well. With the will of Ohara, with the fact that Ohara has spurred on the revolutionaries. The concept that the world government basically gave birth to the revolutionaries. And it's their fault that there is a militia that's going to go against them and take them down. Which is amazing. Like, that's the best way to play off Ohara, in my opinion. And Vegapunk's wacky design, everyone's pointed it out, so like we all know he's based off Einstein. And towards the end of the chapter, we see his updated design after the flashback, and he has a half an apple on his head, which is probably a shout out to Newton.
Yeah.
My thoughts on the flashback is pretty crazy. I like the fact that Dragon's face doesn't have the tattoo yet, but his leg has something embroidered. Probably signifying the fact that he wasn't totally into the revolutionary idea at that point. But as soon as Ohara ended, I like to believe that he went to the nearest tattoo guy and be like, yo, put this tat on my face. It's game time. Like, this is it. This is the final showdown.
Well,
That's
I mean,
my headcanon.
yeah, I mean, with the whole idea, what I found very fascinating is that like Oda kind of proved why Kuma sent Robin to the revolutionaries, because he knows she's from Ohara, the connection. So I'm sure Oda's thought about this for a long time, and he's finally revealing, okay, why Robin to the revolutionaries? Besides the fact of knowing about poneglyphs and everything, like there's an actual direct connection that Ohara's tragedy led Kuma, Dragon, and Ivankov to make the revolutionaries. So I think that's pretty cool. With Dragon, I find it very interesting. Like, they call themselves the Freedom Fighters before, and one thing that I actually thought of that was very noteworthy is that Vegapunk was like, "Oh, don't you not like violence? Like, he's not a violent person." Like, that's how they translated it into the illegal scans.
Yeah, the Viz translation.
Not the Viz translation. I think the Viz translation's a little different. I don't know exactly. I can't really find the page right now, but yeah, but he generally says that he's not really the type of guy to want to, cause violence or anything. I find that's very interesting for the guy who's so infamous now to be a guy who's more non-violent. So it'll be very interesting to actually find out Dragon's backstory. There's a lot of good character development for Vegapunk and Dragon to understand their whole story.
Dude, thank you for that, because that perfectly segues into the theory I've heard online in the One Piece community. Someone made this theory that Dragon, I think Ohara made this theory that Dragon was actually a Marine. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I think I've heard that one.
Yeah, so if anyone hasn't heard about the theory is that Dragon was basically a Marine, and because of the fact that he was a Marine, he must have seen some corruption which made him disillusioned of the whole Marine and the world government system, which is why he branched out and became a revolutionary. And this chapter kind of confirms a lot of that, or it could lend into that theory because both Vegapunk and Dragon are in agreement that not all Marines are bad. There are some people in the Marines that are good people, which is why Vegapunk didn't mind joining the world government because one, he's getting extra funding, and two, not everyone in the world government is bad. And Dragon didn't dispute that, or he didn't fight back too hard on that, which means he might have been in the Marines, and because of that, he must have met some good people along the way. Like Aokiji looks like a good guy. Jaguar D. Sol, um,
His own
Garp,
father, Garp.
yeah, and yeah, the fact that Garp was also in the Marines and he wanted his children and his grandchildren to join the Marines makes it very plausible. The fact that Dragon could be a part of the Marine, could have been part of the Marines, and because Dragon was a part of the Marines, he was traveling a lot, and this is lending into like the second wild theory that Robin is actually Dragon's daughter because he had Robin with what's her mom name? Olivia.
Nico Olivia.
Yeah, Nico Olivia, and that makes a lot of sense too, because I was watching another YouTuber and he's like, if you look at Dragon's expressions in this and throughout One Piece so far, he looks like a very serious guy. Like he's not messing around. So you need a woman of a certain caliber, of certain status, that can take him on and interest him. And I feel like Nico Olivia must have been that kind of woman, right? Who could have made him fall in love, and therefore he had Robin with her. And because he was a Marine, he was traveling, so he must have been to Ohara before that, or maybe after he left the Marine. So it could have been either or. So I think that theory could also work. That Robin is actually Luffy's half sister.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say I'm not really too sure about how Oda will want to go that direction, but it's possible. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, which is why maybe Kuma sent Robin to the Revs as well, because he might have known that she's his daughter. It's a nice theory, in theory, obviously. It's just conjecture, as Dr. Vegapunk would say.
Yeah, it's just a theory. We'll know more later on. I mean, the only thing that I can see similar is like their hair color and everything. But I probably think Nico Olivia probably has black hair too. I don't remember, so it's hard to
She has
it's hard
white
to
hair.
say. She has white hair. Maybe. I mean, maybe we'll see. Um, but one thing I do find an interesting point, like you talk about Vegapunk saying that all Marines are not bad. Um, Joe Boy mentioned this too, that maybe you could consider that maybe Garp and Aokiji have done more in the Marines to make them in a positive role more than you think. And it's also possible that maybe we're looking at the Marines wrong and that most of the Marines are well intentioned. It's just a few really bad apples, or like the people at top are kind of more of the corrupt people and they have just no choice to follow.
I mean, if you're gonna come at it like that, I think without showing the bad apples of both groups, the series won't be interesting, right? Just
Yeah, of
show a bunch
course.
of neutral people, nice, happy-go-lucky. Like this show would just be like it wouldn't succeed. So for any drama, you need like to show the bad apples of each organization, be it the pirates, which we are seeing, and the world government. But that's what, like, in this chapter, Dragon did not mention that he wants to take down the Marines. He said he wants to take down the world government.
Yeah.
So I think through his experience with the Marines, he must have also realized that, okay, we need something like the Marines to have order in the world, but we need to get rid of the Tenryubito and the Gorosei and the whole uh, structure that they currently have, which
Yeah.
is very interesting to see what Dragon's backstory might be.
I mean, the Marines are like policemen, right? Like, I mean, not saying that there's no corruption in policemen around the world. There are, but like, it's like there's only so much that they can do or affect ideology themselves. So I'm guessing maybe Garp stayed with the Marines because he knows that in the end of the day, like him being a person of power has influence on the thought processes of each Marine, like Kobe. Same thing with Aokiji and others. Like their mindset, their values of justice will affect them, and that's maybe what they're trying to do. Versus thinking that okay, like let's go in opposition because maybe their thought process is the less of Marines like Garp and Aokiji in the Marines will result more corrupt people and people who are kind of more extreme, like Akainu, to be ruling, and that thought process, that ideology will, encompass the Marines as opposed to having like opposing forces.
This is just a lot of setup. Again, like the last chapter, there's a lot of setup as to what the lore and the flashbacks will be. Really exciting times for One Piece, especially right now. The last question I have for you before we head out: what is, what does Vegapunk want to show them at the end of the chapter?
I'm not sure. Maybe he's gonna show. Maybe he'll reveal how his how we saw his head being really big. Maybe I know, like I think Joe Boy mentioned this too. Like maybe it's like he has like a big brain that just has all his memories. Maybe he has like a supercomputer to show. Maybe he has like a poneglyph. Honestly, it could be anything really. But I'm thinking that he probably split out his memories into different. That's why he has different bodies because his head was just getting too big.
The head getting too big. I have a different take on that. I think he basically split up his brain and made the six parts of Punk, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I like. That's what I'm trying to refer to. That he spread it out. I mean, it's possible because he
No.
learned so much, and even Joba mentioned that maybe he has like some kind of memory fruit where he can remember literally everything. Maybe it just he split it into six, but then there's also extra stuff that he just put into like a computer like device.
I feel like Oda's just going balls deep. His next chapter, he's just going to show us the history of the devil fruits. He's just going to go all in.
Yeah,
There's nothing holding him back right now. That's
I've
what I
been
think it's going to be.
I've been waiting for that. So like I think he said like maybe 3 years ago he said Vegapunk will explain how devil fruits work. Like he kind of expressed that to One Piece viewers. So we've been waiting for a long time, maybe 2 3 years. So hopefully we get the answer next chapter, and we can go all in talking about all the reveals.
Yes, sir. This has been it from your favorite One Piece creators. Hope you liked. Hope you like and subscribe this. My English is not good. Like, subscribe, and peace.